But if you look at the odds, they built 800 and some F-105s, and over 300 of them were left in Southeast Asia. Now, they weren't all shot down, and there were accidents, thanks to a lot of ways to lose aircraft. But your chances of a 100 as an F-105 pilot, if you were shot down, and we lost a lot of aircraft, almost half the 105s were lost in Southeast Asia. If you were shot down, you had one chance of being rescued, one chance of being killed in action, and one chance of becoming a POW. But I didn't know anybody that ever thought they would become a POW. You'd be killed, everybody accepted that, or you'd be rescued, or something would happen, but not becoming a POW. I was sitting in there in some people call it our operations shack, and I was looking at the board, and they had 24 names, and the last one shot down. Before that was a guy named Fred Cherry. I said, who I knew very well. And the fighter community at that time was a very small group. Strategic Air Command was the name of the game in '63. The whole first 5 years of my career, that didn't turn to TAC until the Vietnam War got going up. Well, I looked at Fred Cherry's and well, that's 24. I wonder who number 25 is going to be. And 2 days later, I knew who it was. It was me. To get into the POW network, I know I'd like to keep this, at least have some time for questions so I know what you're interested in. To become a POW, you had to go through 3 hoops. The first one was you had to survive your bailout. And F-105s, all the aircraft, John McCain is a good example. His airplane, they shot the wing off of it, happened to be right over Hanoi when it happened. I was shot down, it was a matter of the airplane was on fire, lost all the controls, and as the engine, I lost all the hydraulics, and bailed out. And I remember when they pulled the handles up and the canopy came off, there's this terrific roar. And the 105, you were strapped in on your head, seat belts, harness belts. The guards that we used to wear, the leg restraints, they had decided we didn't need them anymore. So we didn't have those anymore. But anyway, I put my hand up and just to feel it was just like a wall. And squeezed the trigger and out I went, got knocked out. And as I was floating down, the natural instinct is to reach up and grab and shoot. And I felt myself doing that, but my arms weren't even moving because they both been broken right at the shoulder. They weren't the problem. The problem was a broken jaw. Once I got on the ground, and once I was captured, you can't eat. You can eat, you can chew, or you can't chew. And as I ended up as a prisoner, I had a very unfriendly guard who was kind of shoving the food in my mouth until my arms ended up. So anyway, the first thing you have to do is survive your bailout. Second thing you have to do is survive being captured. The villages of North Vietnam were never bombed on purpose, but they had a bad habit of putting missile sites around the village, the skies in the village, or at other places where there were people. And a lot of pilots didn't, hit targets, but the villagers would pick them up, and the first instinct was to run a pitchfork through them. Until the North Vietnamese got the word out, don't kill the pilots. If we're going to kill them, we'll do it in Hanoi, which I don't know of any cases where they did it deliberately. But the villagers didn't give it a second thought. The third hoop you have to go through is making the transition to being a prisoner of war. This is the tough part. The North Vietnamese and the Chinese, whose example they often follow, instinct was to put people on solitary confinement. And then maybe 1 or 2 rooms. And as more and more prisoners came, you get 2 or 3 people to a room. But the people they really didn't like, John McCain being a case in point, they just left them in solitary confinement. So what was your guiding beacon? What you took to the party was what you had in you. The beacon was the code of conduct. This has gone through some iterations, but the basic, what you needed to know was in the code of conduct. Part of it is, if I am senior, I will take charge. And that read whether it was 100 guys, whether it was 200 in a cell. There were never 100. I think about 40 was the most we ever had, and that was the last 2 years of the war. But if you were there, that we had some fantastic leadership. The first one I would mention is a guy named Robbie Reisner, who was an Air Force 105 pilot. He was shot down twice in the 105. He was an ace in the Korean War, and he was an absolute take-charge guy. The other one was Admiral James B. Stockdale, a Navy Medal of Honor winner, and who was equivalent to Reisner as far as his leadership capabilities, who set an example. And the example they set was absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, they each spent over 4 years in solitary confinement. Try that sometime. Reisner, a year in a dark room in solitary confinement. I had about 6 months, and that was absolute peanuts. The first guy who was shot down, Alvarez, he was there for a year and a half before there was another POW that he could even talk to. I was absolutely convinced I was the only one there until I was laying there in the cell, and Reisner moved in next door to me, and he started tapping on the wall. I didn't have a clue what it was all about. But it was my introduction to the communication system. And this communication, this whole tapping on the walls, was the way we survived. And this was the way the leadership led, was through communicating and communicating through this system. The time that went into it, we had lots of time, but it was able to put everybody on the same sheet of music. And what were they leading? They were leading a resistance effort. And this is what being a POW in Vietnam was all about. It was resisting the Vietnamese effort to get us all on board on their side. And I'll sum it up and say the Vietnam experience was the one of the few great successes of the Vietnam effort. I told you a little bit before about going up, but I know I've just got a couple of minutes left. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to you and see if you have any further questions which I might answer. Go ahead.
Very impressed with your talk, and really impressed with your resume, your whole resume, right through working in China. I'm curious of your thoughts about the President-elect's national security picks that he's done.
The President Obama? I think it's an outstanding selection. The one I know personally is James Jones, a former Marine Commandant. I was on John McCain's Military Advisory Council. He needs a military advisory council like he needed a hole in it. But the one luncheon I went to down in the Army Navy Club in Washington, there was about 25